Hello everyone. In this video we will try to solve a problem named task scheduler. So if you are someone who is learning heaps, then this is a very good problem to solve. Right, now let's understand the problem statement. We have been given a list of tasks, right, and it could be in any order. Don't understand or don't confuse it in a different meaning that that this bee is coming at fourth second of time or we are need to queuing it and no. Don't think in that approach, right? What we need to consider it that each task take one amount of time to finish, right? So let's suppose if we started processing the task A, so in 1 second it will be completed, it will be finished, right? You need to consider that point, right? Now other than that we have been given n, which is the cooldown. Now what how we understand the cooldown is that it is the difference between two similar tasks, or it is the minimum amount of time which we need to put between two same tasks, right? For an example, for the cooldown of 2, let's start processing A in the first, right? After that we need to wait 2 cycles, this one, this two, and then again we can process A, right? So I hope you are getting a small touch of what is cooldown, right? We need to wait till cooldown number of times to process the same task again, right? Now don't again confuse it that okay, this A is processed 3/4 amount of time or 1/4 amount of time. No, I said in 1 second it will be completed fully. This A is a different one, right? Because see, we have been given so many A's, so many B's, right? So same task could be appear in many number of times, right? Okay, now what the problem ask, right? So problem asks that we need to return the least amount of time that CPU will take to finish all the task, right? We need to finish all the task in the least amount of time. Now let's understand the problem and try to take this example. So how they solve this, they have been given A to 3 times, B to 3 times, and the cooldown for them is 2 as well, right? So what they did, they just started processing A first, then B first, and then you will say, hey, why idle? So I will say the cooldown is 2, right? So this is the 1 cycle, this is 2 cycle, and then they again start processing A, right? So that's why they put idle over here, because over that time for B there is cooldown is again 2 for each and every element if you are processing. After that you need to wait for the same task to happen again as the cooldown number of times, right? So after this again cycle we can use B and so on, and by that if you will just count all these time period, then it will come out to be 8. Now, from this example, you will not get enough touch of the problem statement. Now, let's take A is equals to 3 and B is equals to 2 with the same cooldown, which is 2. Right. Now, what would be the basic approach to solve this problem? So, you will say that, okay, I could go in every single approach, every other approach, or I will find each and every possibility for this single point approach and get the answer, right? This is answer, this is answer, and out of all these answers, using recursion again, I need the minimum one, right? Using recursion I will find all the possibilities, and using every possibility I will get a different answer, and I will just get the minimum of all those answers, and that would be my answer, which is correct, which is right, and that will definitely gonna solve this problem. But the problem with this is like it will consume a lot of time, and online judge will not gonna accept it, never, right? So okay, we need to think something else. We need to optimize our approach. So can we think greedily, right? So the answer is yes, obviously heaps. We are on the heap playlist, but you will say okay, fine, joking and all those fun, it's great, but what would be the entry point? Like how, like at which task I should begin with, right? So there are two possibilities. Either you could start with the most frequent one or with the less frequent one, right? Now what I mean by that is the task which is appearing more number of times is the more frequent, and the task which is coming less number of times are less frequent. So you could choose to go with any of these. Why? If you will start with the least frequent one, right? The task which is coming less number of time, then you will get the answer, right? But that will not be the optimal one. Why? Because you will end up having more idle times. You will end up having more number of idle times. How? Let's take an example again with this. Let's start it with B. Let's start pressing B first, right? And then again we will start with A and we'll compare the answer. So after that, time period is 2, so I cannot use B until 2 cycles. So my B is completed. Over here I can use A, but over here I cannot use anything, so idle. Again I can use A over here because time period for B is A is completed and A is free over here to use. After that, idle, idle, and A. Correct? So the total amount of time is 8. How? For here, for here. Great. So if I start from B, then I got the answer 8. Now let's start with A, which is the more frequent one, right? B was the less frequent and A was the more frequent one. So A, then B, then idle, then A again, and then B, then idle, and then A. So in this case, the answer is 7. How 7? 3 and 4, right? So this is the way we need to think, right? In this way, we know we are getting the more optimal one, because anyhow we will get answer from getting starting with any of the task. But what we need the least number of times that the CPU will take, least, like focus on this part. Okay, Sonu, we got it. Now we got the starting point, we know how to approach it, but what data structure which we use and why? So we need the most frequent one, right? The maximum frequency one, right? So if A is coming 100 times, then I need A first, right? And which data structure could help out of heap again? Min heap or max heap? Definitely max heap, right? Max heap will go and will help us to approach this problem. So okay, fine, we will use max heap. Now how we should approach is, as we have to also take care of cooldown, so what I think is we just need to jump till n cycles. Why? Because if you will process A over here, then till the nth cycle, or this is the n time period, till nth cycle you cannot use A, right? From here onwards you can use A, but till here you cannot use A. Similarly, if any other task you are using over here, B, C, D, whatever, so you cannot use them until n time frames. And if you will start B over here, then this will be its time period. So that's why I said we will hop in till n cycles. Again n cycles and n cycles, and if let's suppose this over here is my last task, then I will just end up having this small one, and this could be my total answer. So we just need to make our problem statement would go somewhat like this, or solution would go somewhat like this, right? And max heap will gonna help us. But only max heap is not sufficient. Let's say we stored the task in 3,2, right? Now dot A, dot B, I'm just storing it for the marker, but in the actual implementation we don't need it, because see, in the solution we don't need to print the list of A, comma B, we just need to print the answer, right? And we will gonna use time and answer variables so on to calculate it. Just A and B, comma B are markers just for the explanation. So if you will hop in till this cycle, right? And if you will use this A, right? So I use A over here, so till n cycle I cannot use A, right? But if I will I will just reduce the number of tasks by 2, and if I will store it again, then it will be unfair, because if it's let's suppose it could be 4, right? So I'll just reduce it by 3 because I just stored A over here, and if I will store 3 again, then again in the max heap it will reach at the top, and that could be unfair, right? Because again I will process that 3-1 or A1 over here, and it would make our cooldown period constraint go wrong, that which we don't want, right? So only priority queue or max heap will not gonna help us, right? We need to store that in any other kind of data structure which could help us. So it could be anything, like it could be vector, dq, or something. So for now I'm using vector for storing my the task which has been proceeded in the nth cycle, because I'm just hopping for the n cycle, n cycle, n cycle. But if I use A, then till here I cannot use this A again. So what I will do, I'll just store it in my priority queue. I'll just reduce the number of tasks and I'll store it in my vector, right? And same I will do with the other task till my n cycle completed. After that, I will store those tasks in again in my priority queue, because those will be eligible and the maximum one will come out, right? So you will say, you'll get confused, like why? Because, but I would say don't be confused. We will understand more by writing the code. Because if this top got reduced and store it in my vector, so others will be already small, right? If they will be reducing, and it will come later part. So don't confuse that if this should go up next time, or so don't confuse with those possibilities. I know that could be a number of possibilities, so don't confuse. Right, now let's understand more by writing the code. I hope you are start getting a small of it, but you will get more when you will write the code. Right, okay. So we want the most frequent one, and how we can calculate the frequencies using map, right? So I'll be using unordered map for characters comma in MP, not MPL. I don't promote anything, and I'll say value task. I'll calculate the frequency of value comma plus plus. This is the standard one, right? Then I need what? Priority queue. Which one? Max one. So this is a max heap, right? You guys already know from my previous video what are the ways we can define a priority queue. Okay, fine. So what we need to do with this priority queue, right? We need to store the frequencies of all task in my priority queue. So I'll say frequency of, not frequency, I'll say pq.push, right? I need to push it in my priority queue with frequency dot second. For each task I need to print it, right? And again, I'm saying we don't need to get we don't those 3 comma a and these were all for marking, and specifically, as I said, we don't need it in my in our implementation, right? Okay, fine. Then what? Then we just calculate, or we just say answer equals 0 and we return it. Wow, right? No, wrong. So we need to do this while loop until it gets empty, and after that I also need this time variable. I'll explain later why we need it, and you will also able to understand it. So just have patience and start writing code with me, right? Okay, and from here I need to hop into the cycles, as I said, right? I need to jump over the cycles, and until then my vector would be helpful, and from here my vector will be stored again all my priority queue until again and so on, right? So this would be the approach. Now how to write it, right? So first we need to define the hop is less than equals to n. Now you will say, why? Hey, you guys will shout at me now. So from here, from the example, we need to say, if we start from here, this is the first cycle, this is the second cycle, and this is the third cycle. So basically, if we will see the edge cases, then we need to go till tooth, right? 0, 1 and 2. If I process A, then I need to hop for 2, right? But initially I didn't process anything. So for that, for every element I need to hop for n, right? So that's why it is. Or again, like I would explain that if I start from here, one hop, second hop and third hop, then again I can use A. So this is just for edge case. You will just write the code yourself, and able to digest it with the time, right? Now I'll say auto top, or I'll say T, right? PQ dot top -1 and PQ dot pop. Now you will say, hey, again you will shout at me that why -1? -1 because initially you were having 3 and 2. So if out of 3 tasks, right, you will not gonna store 3 in my vector again. You just need to store the 2, right? So that's why I just reduce it here as well. Okay, so okay, let's proceed. Fine, but also I need to check if this is 0 or what. If this is not 0, then I need a vector, and I need to store that in my vector. Push back and T. Also I need to say time plus boss, because if let's suppose I have only one task available in my priority queue and my hop starts, right? So I don't need to calculate this time, right? I just need to stop here by saying, okay, A is there and end. My time is only 1, right? So that's why I'm just calculating the time You will also get it when you will gonna see it, right? But all these things must be done if my priority queue is not empty. If my priority queue is empty at any point of time, then what? Because I'm just hopping it, right? mm, I hate bad intentions. Okay, so now I hope you guys gonna get it, that if my hop is started over here, so anyhow I will be popping it from my priority queue, right? But I need to handle the base case as well, so that's why I use this priority queue is not empty. Else I'll say break, I don't want it. Okay, hop ends. Now what? So if my hops end, then my vector time starts. Now I'll say value of the vector and store it. Store in my priority queue, right? And you will say, hey, you didn't have any check. So I don't need to, because if it's 0, then I didn't push in my vector, right? And now the answer time, right? So if, please see it carefully, if my priority queue is empty, then I'll say answer plus equals to time. Otherwise, answer plus equals to n plus 1. You will definitely gonna shout at me, and I know why. But I have a reason to explain. See, if this hop's completed, right? So if this hop's completed, then you know this is n, right? Or n plus 1. See, just this is just for edge case. Why edge case? Because as I said, right, this is the third hop which I'm explaining. So you guys might feel weird to digest it, but that's what it is. So you just need to digest it, that okay, this is the third hop because I started from here, not here. This is just for explanation, right? Fine. Now you will say, okay, even we digest this, so what about this? I'll say, okay, this is a hop, and I did this time calculation because of a reason. Because if my priority queue contains only one element, so it will just you know do one counter for one time frame, and it will gonna break. This hop will not gonna complete, right? So only one time got frame initiated and completed. So why I will add n plus 1? I'll just simply write time, right? So that's all, and I hope it should work. uh, Please God, help me out. Let's run it. I'm not sure, honestly. Fine, and let's see if it'll work or not. Yeah, it will work. So that's all for this video. I know it got small, lengthy and all, but that's all what it is. I hope you get a small value from it. It got a lot of time to make this video, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.